Hi, I'm Adam,
This is Kevin.
and we are Tech Guys Who Invest. This is the place for business people and investors to learn all about investing. We offer a fresh perspective on what it's like to have a day job while investing, and we share lessons learned on our investing journey. Our vision is to educate and entertain you while adding tons of value to your daily commute. Welcome to our show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tech Guys Who Invest podcast. Adam and I started this podcast to do a couple things. We wanted to teach all of you how to invest wisely and safely. We wanted to bring on awesome professional investors to share knowledge with us and you as listeners. But we also wanted to use the podcast as a way of documenting our journey towards financial freedom. Because when we get out, we're going to be able to look back at these episodes and demonstrate, hey, we made it. And that's the fun aspect of it. With that being said, we are going to do kind of a temperature check where we are on our journey, what's happening. Just a quick update we wanted to share with all of you because we find that it's more fun to share where we're at, and you can learn from our successes, failures, and experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this is going to be from the hip. You know, we haven't really prepared for this. We just were talking about it and thought this would be a really cool thing to do. So you're going to get what we really feel and what we're thinking at this moment.
Adam, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
Well, why don't you go, Kevin?
All right, cool. So where I am at right now, and to describe it, I think I'll use a picture. On my vision board, I haven't cut out the picture yet, but I keep visualizing a home plate and a batter at home plate. And for me, that symbolizes just swing. And what's going to happen? I can either hit a single, I can hit the ball, end up on base, I can hit the ball, it being a home run, or I can strike out. But there's such a hesitation on my end of the fear of failure and fear of losing somebody's money, especially a financial friend, if you will, that wants to invest with me and we do something together. There is that inherent fear of, so many things can go wrong, which I think can hold me back to a certain extent. And causes me to overthink the process. Think, what could go wrong? Have I planned for this? Oh man, but what about this detail? And you get to a point where there's so many details you are looking at where it's like, it prevents you from doing the very thing that you need to do.
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
Absolutely. And
Wow.
I'm just talking to the right people. So this is why a team is so important. For example, Ohio, I'm looking at a note in Ohio, and there's certain regulations depending on whether it's like a land contract, which is like a contract for deed, or think of it, an analogy would be like a lease to own, or it would be a traditional mortgage. If it's a traditional mortgage, my understanding is you have to have a certain certification. And I Google that, and if I'm not entirely sure what I'm Googling, you kind of get lost, right? You don't know what you don't know. So that's why talking to the right people in your network, hey, have you heard of this? Who do you recommend me reaching out to? That's been huge, a referral. And then calling people, calling attorneys to understand, if I have to foreclose, how much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take? What type of licensing do I need? Certifications do I need to make sure this happens? Because ultimately, you don't want to do something and be in a, oh crap moment, I forgot about that. So it's an interesting balance between having the right amount of information to take action and making sure you don't screw up.
Yeah, I can completely relate. I know how you feel. And that's the way I feel a lot when I'm doing something that's new to me, a new type of a deal or transaction, for example. That is one of the things I like about what I'm focusing on right now, the large multifamily. You can't do that alone. So I've got a team around me and I can lean on them for things I don't know. And I love that. And what you said, I mean, you're putting a team together, if you will, people who you can rely on. And that's just crucial, I think.
And I absolutely. And that's why relationships matter so much. Going to networking events matter so much. Following up with these people, just saying, hey, how's it going? Or share. You can share an article with somebody and say, what do you think about this? How do you think this can affect you? And it may not seem like a lot, but it's just, oh, this person's actively researching. It shows some credibility. Dang, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, that's all right, man. I loved how you started this off with your image of what you're doing on your vision board. I think that's really cool. I have the same thing. I'm gonna take my little Tech Guys Who Invest background off for those who are watching this on video, and that way you can see my vision board here. That
Amazing.
the little stick figure that I just showed is he's got a stick lever, and he's moving a boulder from a flat top aboard a hill above a hill towards the slope of the hill. And I've got a timeline in years. So 2019 is the little stick figure getting the boulder moving, rocking and rolling back and forth, and then pushing it forward so it starts to roll on its own down the hill. And then in 2020, it's rolling on its own. In 2021, it's going really fast because this is a steep hill. 2022 and 23 and beyond, it rolls really fast on its own and it rolls on down. So it is really just profound to me how this vision is coming to fruition. Because when I drew that, that's what I wanted to happen. And I look at the board a lot and I try to envision that happening. And it is. I feel like I've got the boulder moving. I got my first deal, which is the hardest part, to get the inertia.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I'm experiencing. At some point, you just have to swing, and you have to accept the fact that what you're doing as an investor, there is inherent risk, and you remove the risk by incorporating processes, getting the knowledge, having the right team in place. It's not my job to physically foreclose on a note if that performing note goes non-performing. That is what the team member is for. And like, it's not your job to physically change the light bulbs. That's what you have property management for. That's why you have contractors to do that stuff.
A book I'm rereading right now, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, talks about how the rich people take action before they have all the details. They're comfortable taking action, and they're confident enough that they will make it work. Now, he's not saying take reckless risks.
Right.
He likes to say, ready, fire, aim. Do get ready, do prepare enough that you know it's the right decision, but then take action very quickly and just make it happen. You don't have to have all of the details. And I really like that. It helps me as well.
You can't possibly know every single detail, right? But to have an idea of what to do next, or know that you have a resource to call if something goes wrong, that's huge too.
Yeah, I agree. And network has been really big for me. I've come to, well, I've always valued that, but I've come to realize in this particular game just how important it is to have a network of people who are like-minded, very motivated to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. So that's what's going on for me in the note space is figuring out how to properly structure a deal that works for myself and the investor. Just continuously analyzing, continuously trying to find more and more notes. So, hey, if you've got a note that you want to sell, let us know, techguyswhoinvest@gmail.com. I would love to take a look at it. But that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to since closing on your 59?
Since closing on the 59, I was involved in another deal, which was an 88 unit in Tallahassee. And that was, we were under contract. We were in due diligence, and I was working very hard toward my second deal. And it actually came apart. We ended up backing out of the deal in due diligence. And that was it was mixed emotions. It was obviously disappointing because I was really looking forward to doing my second deal. I'd learned so much on that journey already, on that project, but at the same time, I wasn't crushed because I felt like I learned and I grew from the experience, and I'm able to apply that to opportunities going forward. So I have another opportunity right now that's in the hopper. I can't really say too much about it at this moment, but it does look like I will have another multifamily opportunity coming soon. So what I'm doing right now is preparing. I'm talking to people who have expressed interest in investing with me in the next opportunity I've got. So I'm talking to those people and getting them ready to look at the details of this opportunity once I can share it, uh,
Sure.
and really pushing forward. One of my goals is to get another equivalently sized deal done before 2019. So, by the time 2019's over with, I want to have more than 100 units under my belt. So I'm pushing really hard for that right now.
Awesome. That is huge. So you took that loss, or if you want to call it a loss, and you said, okay, you accepted it, you felt it, and you said, all right, let's just move on to the next one. That's an important trait. Instead of like, oh man, we lost this one, my entire career is over. You shifted the mentality to really look at what can I do next and prepare for the next one.
Yeah, that's right. That is thanks for pointing that out, because that I hadn't really looked at it that way or sort of reflected on it that way for myself. But you're right. I think in the past I may have dwelled on it a little more negatively than I do now.
And you and I think, are the same in that if it's more so I have a bad tendency of looking what didn't get done as opposed to, wow, look at all the things that I've gotten done.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's cool because that shows growth in myself, and you don't always see it in yourself. So when someone else kind of helps you see that, that's pretty cool. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That is
of
awesome,
course,
man.
man. Of course, I'm going to point that out.
I
So,
love it.
can you talk about what happened? Why in the due diligence? What was the big red flag or multiple red flags that said we need to back out? Is that something you can share?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't see any reason why I couldn't. So it was a complicated deal to begin with. In fact, I've got a bit of a theory that in this market, to find a deal, you have to see something others aren't,
Of
because
course.
the straightforward deals that go on the market and you see brokers list are getting top dollar. They're getting asking price in most cases. And if you want to have a deal, if you want to get a deal, you need to make it. So this
Absolutely.
was a complicated deal. We saw something that others didn't, and it was a property that consisted of condominiums that we were going to convert to apartments. Now, they were apartments when they were originally built, but sometime in the last couple of decades, investors came in and converted them to condos and sold them off, made money that way. Now they're being converted back.
Life comes full circle, apparently.
It's really interesting, right? So the play for us was to get enough of them to be able to take over the HOA, and that way we didn't have to worry about the HOA, and take them over as apartments, and then buy the rest of them over our hold period. And they're investor owned. The whole complex is investor owned, but they're not all the same investors. Most investors only own one unit or
Right.
maybe two. Those are really difficult for investors. Hard to sell those kind of condos. So if we were offering to buy a package and allow people to sell their as part of the package, they would jump at the chance to offload that thing. We would get a good deal on it, and everybody's happy. Everybody wins in that situation. And then what it would allow us to do is reposition the property as a large apartment complex, fully rented, well managed, and sell it to a very large operation like a REIT or one of those big players. That was the long term play. But these transactions where you're buying condos and converting them to apartments are a bit complicated. They're not well known by a lot of people. They make some people nervous, and we
Why
struggle
would it
to
make them
raise
nervous?
capital because of the legal ramifications of the HOA.
Ah,
I think that is the primary reason it makes people nervous. Um,
okay.
yeah, yeah, just and a lot. I don't know. They've got a kind of a bad rap for some reason.
Going from
So
condo to apartment.
going from condo to apartment, yeah, I'm
Interesting.
pretty sure most of it is from the legality of the HOA. And even though we were going to be taking over the HOA, and perhaps there's something about the common areas as well that
Mm-hmm.
make people nervous. I'm not sure, or perhaps it's all of the different owners of the existing condos. But I do know that there were some people who would have been great passive investors, limited partners, and they're experienced, accredited type investors looking at investing pretty large sums of money with us, and their legal team was saying, "Nah, let's look for something that isn't that condo type deal that has similar returns, and see if we can just find that it'll be less risk for you." And so, they're going to take their lawyer's advice, as they should. And so for that reason, we just kind of struggled to raise capital.
Okay, so it was the lawyer who, and this is why you pay lawyers and have them on your team, that said, my analysis of this is showing some type of a red flag or a hiccup, that a snag that could cost you greatly. And at that point, I'm assuming the main partners just made an executive decision to say we're going to back out because it doesn't make sense. Or how did that work?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. Actually, we had a meeting, and we talked through it and discussed it, and it was very similar to what you just described.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's good. I mean, you do have to listen to the lawyers. That's important, right? That's
absolutely.
what they're there
Yeah,
for.
we don't we don't have any ill feelings against the people who did that, and had expressed interest, but then backed out because of their legal counsel's advice. In fact, I mean, we want them to follow their legal counsel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we're totally fine with that. It's business, right? And we learn from that as well. We won't go after one of those type of deals again, because it was a lot of hard work. I mean, we all still really believe in our business plan, and to this day, I think it was a fantastic deal with tons of opportunity. But because of all of the time and effort we put in, it was just a lot of lost work there that didn't pay off in the end.
Sure.
And so we wouldn't go after another type one of those deals.
Hey, you live and learn. And I think that is what we're doing constantly, right?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
It's like getting rejected a bunch of times. Okay, this didn't work. Let me try something else. Or let me go talk to somebody else. And eventually those no's turn into a yes.
Yeah. But the next one we're looking at, with the same team that we did the 59 with, we're looking at another more straightforward multifamily unit in the Tampa Bay area. And I I like being in this area as well. There's something nice about an area that I know really well.
Like your
Um,
backyard, basically.
yeah, exactly. Although I think Tallahassee is a good place to invest. I mean, a lot of the articles I was reading when we were doing research on that city for this other deal, um, indicate that it is a growing, attractive area, good place to have a multifamily asset.
So walk us through when you say it's from the articles you've read, it seems like a good place. As in, you've been doing the research, you've been putting a lot of hard work, so you're seeing something a bit differently. How would you describe to our listeners what it is you're looking for in those articles?
Yeah, I'm looking for signs. I could boil it down to a simple thing and just say I'm looking for signs that people would want to live in the type of property we will own and manage there.
There you
So,
go.
the uh, type of people who would live in an apartment are there and want to be there, and are that base is growing. So things you're
Hmm.
looking for are job growth. You're looking for population growth, and you're looking to make sure the asset is in a good location. So if you've got those things, and then you're looking at demographics that tell you, um, it's likely that the type of people who would want to live in whatever asset it is you're acquiring would want to live there, and it's growing. That's likely to continue into the future. Those are great indicators.
Okay. That's awesome. And that makes sense, right? You need to make sure you can put bodies in the apartment units. You wouldn't, it's like those companies that were too ahead of their time. They created a product that retrospectively, wow, that was pioneering, but at the time, nobody was ready to use it. So you want to make sure that the market research shows that um, if we do this, are we going to be able to make money?
Exactly. Yeah. and making sure the demographics match the type of tenant you expect to live there. So, it's pretty common sense, actually.
There you go. It is pretty. I mean,
It
yes and
is.
no.
Yeah.
I think it's common sense when you've built up more of an understanding of what to look for. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a good point.
that just shows that we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah, it's kind of neat to do this every now and then, to stop and kind of take a look at where we are and to share that with our listeners. Hopefully, if they've been listening along the way, they see it somehow in some way. And actually, if you do, it would be really cool to me and Kevin if you send us a note and let us know some things you may have noticed or something you've seen. I think that would be pretty awesome. It's kind of like a social experiment almost, right? On ourselves.
Yeah. That's a good point, because you don't really notice it within yourself. It's
Right.
harder to, at least.
Yeah, but it'd be really cool to hear that from some others.
I agree 100%. What's going on, everybody? This is Kevin Galang, your co-host of the Tech Guys Who Invest podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to the latest episode of the TGWI podcast. And you just heard an investment update. So what we're doing, what actions we're taking, and this can give you an idea of what actions you can take in your daily life. As such, I wanted to fill all of you in on my latest creation. It was a free note investing ebook. I just created it, and it talks about why homeowners are looking to trade in those monthly payments for a lump sum of cash. Go ahead and check it out. It's free. All you need is your name and email address. Go to noteebook.secondhandsuccess.com. Again, that's noteebook.secondhandsuccess.com. Let me know what you think. Go ahead and send me an email at techguyswhoinvest@gmail.com. I'd love to get your feedback on what you thought of the book and what you learned. Thanks again.
That's it for this episode of Tech Guys Who Invest. This is Adam.
And this is Kevin. Thank you so much for listening to us. Don't forget to join our Facebook page, where we're building a community of investors so that we can share ideas, tips, and other ways to help us get out of the rat race. If you found value in this podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could share it with your network. Lastly, we love feedback. It's how we get better. So if you wouldn't mind spending 30 seconds and leaving us an honest review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're using, that would be super sweet. If you want to get on Adam or Kevin's calendar, go to tgwipodcast.com/contact. We want to help you invest safely, wisely, and ultimately get you out of the rat race. Thanks again.
So last night, my family and I went over to Clearwater Beach.
Yep.
Because, if you live here, you should go to the beach. We do. It's awesome. Love the beach. There's a place over there that is like a pub that has video games, which is kind of neat. So we just thought we would check it out and see if there were any video games worth playing. Walk through. It's funny. There actually were a few games I recognized, but most of them I didn't. So they were newer games. But I was expecting to see more old school games. I really thought I would see some old school classics. I didn't see any in there, but it did get me to thinking. What are 2 or 3 video games, Kevin, that you think are just total classics that you love? Arcade games. Let's just say arcade games.
Arcade games, the classic ones. I don't think you can go wrong with a driving game as a classic arcade game. And one of the ones that I can remember growing up playing was, I think it was Rush. I don't remember exactly. Rush 2049 was the name of the game, where you were racing. It wasn't realistic by any standard, but it was fun. And because you're in the bucket seat, you can shift, you go automatic, whatever.
Oh, nice.
And I would also argue that another classic arcade game are the fighting games, like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Those to me are classic games that belong in an arcade.
Right on, man. Yeah, I remember some of those. This definitely shows my age, but like when you said driving games, I was like, ooh, pole position.
Isn't that the one where there's like a
super old?
Yeah, and is that the one with the trucks or something like that?
I think so. I
I'm
just
gonna
remember the
look at
little
it really quickly.
formula-like car, but there were a few games over the years I remembered, and I'm sure I'll think about this later and say, "Oh, why didn't I say that?" But a couple that I really liked that are super old school: Tempest,
Okay, I know that game.
Joust. That was awesome. Defender.
Oh, we're getting
Dude,
now.
these are
You're
old.
showing your age, man.
These are old, man.
That's still 2D graphics, isn't it?
Yeah. Space Invaders, Asteroids.
But what's interesting is they're classics, right?
They are.
Like, you could take a young kid and have them play it, and they'd still be able to navigate through it and have a good time.
Yeah. Oh, Centipede. I loved that game.
Centipede
Back in
was a
the
good one
day.
too.
Yeah.
I remember watching the MTV series True Life, and there was one as True Life. I am a professional video gamer, and there was a guy who set the world record for Miss Pac-Man, completed the entire game, the entire thing without losing a life.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I said. I was like,
Wow.
what the hell?
He better be getting paid for that, because that's a total waste of time if he's not.
I hope so. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh man.